morning, good afternoon, and welcome to the Leading IT podcast. This is episode 65, and today's session we're going to do part 2 of the Microsoft Ignite review. G'day, Tom.
G'day, Josh. You looking forward to the end of the year?
I am. It's been a week of lunches, and I'm not sure how much more champagne I can drink.
It makes it hard, doesn't it? But anyway, you'll get there. You'll be able to relax while India beats Australia over the Christmas holidays.
Yes, exactly. And I almost feel like I'm Don Draper from Mad Men with the amount of customer lunches I've been having.
You wish you wish you were that bloke.
Mate, we all do.
Yeah.
We all do. We've actually been watching that again with my wife.
Oh.
It's her first time, so going through it again.
Jealous.
So exciting. Just welcome to new listeners. So your host, Tom Layden, who's the CIO at Longview, and my name's Josh Rubens. I'm the CEO at consulting firm Empyrean IT. So we give the perspective from both sides of the table. And today, because Microsoft Ignite had such a huge amount of news, we had to split it. So today's session is about Power Platform and cybersecurity, and the last one, if you missed it, was around M365 Copilot Studio, and Microsoft Fabric. So if you missed that, you don't need to have listened to that one before this one, though. So a bit of news, Tom. Have you got anything for us today?
Let's see if we've got the same item. So my first news is Bitcoin over 100,000.
It was. I knew it.
Yeah.
I knew it.
Up from 40 grand, 40 US at the start of the year. Obviously, riding the back of Trump's win. Up another 20 grand since November. It's come off the boil a bit, but who knows what's going to happen from here. But 100 grand, who would have thought when they were flogging them for you could buy them for $1 or $2 10, 15 years ago?
So the most important question, Tom, is were you in the game?
Well, I keep having a recurring nightmare that I bought some and they're on a hardware. They're on a hard drive from 2005 somewhere. In my roof, I've got an old computer with a hard drive and there's 20 Bitcoins in there somewhere. Anyway,
right.
The short answer is no. I did not do any of that. No, of course not.
Okay. Well, I did get in, and I harvested a little bit of my winnings yesterday.
Hey, well done.
And I don't know if you saw Trump. He posted on Truth Social, which is his social media, saying, "Congratulations, Bitcoiners, you're welcome." So what I thought was interesting is that the cryptocurrency has now hit a value of $3.8 trillion, which exceeds Apple. So Apple's $3.7 trillion, and I think the relevance is that digital assets as an asset class are now becoming mainstream. So I think that's probably more
of course, yeah.
Rather than me crowing that I made a couple of shekels yesterday. But I think that's the new one. All right. Well, I was fairly certain we'd both go that one. The other one that I had was about the amount of new AI laws that have passed in America, because I feel that things happen there in Europe first, and we seem to follow. So I think it's interesting to keep an eye on it. And the federal law has sort of been lagging behind. So the states have introduced 700 pieces of AI legislation this year, and more will be coming. So this is all across the different states, and there were sort of a few that I thought were just interesting to mention as far as what may happen here. So firstly, providers must offer a free, publicly accessible tool for users to verify whether AI has generated or modified content, whether it's text, image, video, or audio. So the detection tool must be publicly accessible, and so for users to go in and have a look. So I thought that was interesting. And then manifest and latent disclosures. So providers are required to disclose AI-generated content. So, for example, if you get a call with a robo robocall from an AI, they need to let you know that you're talking to a bot.
Oh, right.
Just as an example, or if it's video,
Yeah.
audio, or text, there has to be clearly tagged that it's AI generated, permanently tagged.
Good. Yeah. Great. That makes sense.
For California, they said if you use someone's image or voice for anything, you have to get permission from either them or the estate if they passed away. So that's been happening a bit already in the movies. And then there was a whole lot of it about, sort of around deep fake, called the Deep Fake Deception Act. So whether a lot of it was related to elections, but also then, that whole deep fake thing that's going to come also from, in the private or public or corporate sector.
Yep.
So I thought it was interesting that how much law is already coming out in the US, and then I would assume, that would come here.
It's good though, isn't it? It's because I think our politicians just sort of put their hands up and say, deep fake, what are you going to do about it? Whereas at least they're actually saying, no, that's illegal. You can't imitate someone and pretend to be someone. That should be illegal. Rightly so.
Yeah, it's passed into law already. And also that law applies. So you could say, well, we're not in the US, but if you are interacting with people in the US, like similar to GDPR, you have to already abide by that legislation. So if you're an Australian business and you're, doing things with someone in California, you would have to protect their privacy. So there was a law that came out. You have to protect. You can't leak information using private information. So the company will be liable for that. And there was also one around that AI shall not get the nuclear launch codes. I thought that was funny, as in Terminator. But I thought that's funny. That's an actual.
It's an actual law.
That is an actual law. Yeah.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. No, they shall not have nuclear launch codes.
Good.
That is good. That is good.
Someone's thinking about this. That's good.
Yes. All right. And any more news? That was all I had, by the way.
Only Elon Musk is raised another $6 billion for his AI, XAI. That's quite good. But OpenAI is now valued at $157 billion. So he's playing catch up. But Elon's tusk is good on the XAI. It's going to be more open, less rule bound. Good, bad, indifferent, I don't know. But what's important is there's going to be more competition, which I think is really important. I think with many of these different competing models is better for us consumers ultimately. So we'll see where that goes.
Yeah.
That's it for me, mate.
All right. Beautiful. Okay. So let's get into the Ignite 2024 Power Platform news. So all the news is 95% of the announcements that we're going to go through today are Copilot and AI related, by the way. So even though it's low code, and I think strategically, low code is from a business process point of view is the easiest approach into AI from automation, building agents, so that whole low code application development capability. So the first bit of news, which was announced at the Power Platform conference, and now was the whole the Plan Designer. So if you remember, it was a way to help organizations, get user stories, set up data models, and develop solutions. So not just doing the application development point of view, so you can iteratively build a solution. So you can provide the Copilot with apps, existing apps, written pages, whiteboard diagrams, automations, and then it will start actually designing the solution for you. So it'll put the user stories. It will do what a BA and a data modeler. It'll have all these different agents there for you.
Yeah. Is that available now? Is that available right now?
They're saying December.
So you can
preview, public preview in December. Yeah.
So you can pump it through all the kind of user requirements and use cases, and it'll come up with you'll just do the app for you.
And then you can go in and make changes that will develop user stories, and then it will say, we think it's not an app, it's a solution. So say the solution needs these two apps, this automation, this data model, and we'll have 4 or 5 different agents in it. So if you want more detail on that, you can go in and have and listen to that. So that's, but you can now do it. What was new here is you'll be able to work in the Plan Designer directly in Power Apps Studio, so in a single view. So you don't have to go into a separate, if you're a maker that they're called, you have to go into a separate build experience. So you can go straight in from this designer view, straight into, low-code development based on the requirements that you built. So so that's pretty exciting. Now, the next one, Tom, I think this is big.
Okay.
It's just my gut feel. Sometimes, every now and then, I get something right. So this is called Agent Builder in Power Apps. So what do I mean? So we're talking about a fast and convenient way to bring your apps into the agentic era. So what this means is, if you have an existing Power App, so that is automated a business process, you will be able to convert an app into an agent that is overseeing a business process for you.
Oh yeah, great. Yeah, cool. Yeah.
Yeah. So they'll leverage, the logic, knowledge, and everything that's already in the app to execute this task autonomously for you. Then the user will be able to oversee what they've done, and they can, come in and remove roadblocks and do updates. So, people are building apps to, automate a business process. So whether it's accounts approval or expense claims, to have a bot that will run it for you, that you can convert from an existing process, I think is really, I think that has the ability to do, to be really big.
Yeah, so this is really important. So this is now where agents actually do stuff for you, as opposed to advising or telling you to advise. It actually follows a process of tasks and stuff to get stuff done. And that's a big shift, right? That is the big shift into 2025.
Yeah, so it's in the first episode, we talked about, the agents in the agentic era and Microsoft giving you all these, agent templates, but that's something you have to build. This is something you can, if you've already invested in Power Platform and you already have all the logic and the knowledge in your Power Apps, you can now convert those into agents.
Yeah.
So that's the exciting. And now you can also build agents and chat within an existing app. So you can have an agent or a bot to interact with an existing application, and then you can expand it with external knowledge. So it's not only the knowledge within an app, you can expand it to make it a lot more, powerful. Yeah. And then the other one, the old painful cut and paste. So they're doing the ability to fill out all these forms. If you've got someone who has to manually move data, cut and fill out forms, so you can basically input files and emails into Copilot and say fill out the forms using these rows, and off it will go and do it for you.
Yeah. I mean, a great example of that is, you get an invoice in the email, you'll be able to just go, grab that invoice and enter that into my system.
Slightly different, but I'm getting there. You stole my thunder, Tom. I'm getting there. But no, you're right. Or it's more if you have someone who has to take data from unstructured and then fill out a bunch of web forms, and it's a very manual process. You'll be able to now just give Copilot that source, and it will fill out all those web forms for you in a
the classic stuff of this is any sort of application or order type form, right? You get the email, and then you've got to go, sure, I've got to do the thing. It should just be able to go, but I've got the email, I've got all the data, I'll find it for you. Here's the form. Is that correct? Yes or no? Bang.
Yeah. Cool. So covered that. Data entry agent is now available. So that thing to do with data entry. And there's a really big focus on managed security, managed environments, operations, governance, so really turning this into an enterprise platform. So you can have visibility and view into, full visibility and view into, what you're doing, automations, how they're going, security. So now this is my big one, Tom. You did get there a little bit ahead of me. So next generation document processing with GPT 4.0. So the intelligent, that OCR industry has been around for a long time. And in fact, Microsoft has had a product called AI Builder in the Power Platform for a long time. So legacy AI, not generative AI. And we have already done projects for customers where, emails are coming in, invoices are coming in. You can train it to read an invoice and then, use Power Automate to write the data into, a CRM or a finance system for you. That was pretty labor intensive, and there was a lot of training. There was a limitation to, the types of documents and the structure of documents. Whereas now, with GPT 4.0, with generative AI, it's all you do is you can create a prompt and say, choose GPT 4.0 and say, right, I want you to do X, and these are the fields I want you to get, and feed the document into GPT 4.0, and then I want you to write it into this. Bang, done.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. And
Done.
there's so many people who just get emails, they get the attachment, they get the form, they get that information, they put it in the system, they go and ask someone to approve something, blah, blah, blah. Yeah, that is a massive game changer, actually.
So I think I did watch that specific session. So apparently 80% of business processes are document-centric.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
So it's a huge opportunity. So accounts payable automation, application forms, medical results, production reports, or, it can go on and on and on.
Yeah.
So the legacy OCR process is you have to take a document, you have to define the fields, upload historical data, label the documents, train the model. Whereas with this, you just create the instruction in natural language and do some testing. So instead of taking weeks and months, it can take hours and days.
Yeah.
So
Loads cheaper to implement as well. So the barrier to entry for this stuff has dropped, I'd say, to 80%.
Yeah. Yeah. So you don't have to provide training samples. You don't have to do document labeling. So like in the old one, you had to go into a document, you had to actually circle like the fields you wanted, and every single type of, so whether it was your Amazon invoice or your Telstra invoice, you had to train them all individually and separately because they were different structured and fields. Can you imagine? Just a pain. So now, yeah, it just understands the documents, and so I think this is I don't know. I'm scared to say game changer again because people will say that I use that word too often. But I think this has the potential to be, very, very powerful for organisations, and we're certainly going to be, something we're going to be really pushing hard to help customers with for sure as a really good use of AI.
Yeah.
And then the other thing that Microsoft were talking about is around that they're saying, and this is from Gartner, that customers are going to be looking for a unified platform with automation capabilities. So, Microsoft, you can do your cloud automation, just Power Automate. You can do robotic process automation. You can do low-code application. You can do intelligent processing, all within one platform with Gen AI, with all the governance and security built in. And they think that's what customers are going to look for, and obviously that's what Microsoft are providing here. Like as a client, is that something that would be, you think?
Yeah, it's interesting. So there's two things going on. So there's the AI platform that Microsoft providing, and then there's your application environment. And so, are your vendors going to put AI into their apps? Or are you going to use Microsoft as a sort of middle layer, to use a simple term, to then orchestrate how your business processes work?
Yeah.
I think it'll depend on your vendors and it'll depend on your skill sets internally to see how all that plays out. But I'm getting a bit impatient with vendors. Frankly, I'm finding they're too slow, whereas Microsoft seems to be light years ahead. So if you really want to innovate quickly, you're going to have to take the lead and wait for your vendors to come up.
Well, and also Microsoft is right there. It's in front of you, right? So,
Google right now, it's exactly right. And typically most vendors have APIs or some way of automating something behind the scenes. So that's probably just enough. That's enough, frankly, isn't it? With a bit of Power Automate, that's all you need.
Yeah, with now the ability so you can do things now. It's called Copilot Actions, which is coming out. So you can describe to automate into Power Automate. That's becoming much more prevalent. So this advanced document processing with AI and GPT is in public preview.
Yeah. So you should be playing with it now, right? Everyone should be into this.
Yeah, I advise, and you can go in and there's templates for invoices and different types of documents. They've really made it quite simple, but hopefully not simple enough that you can't reach out and ask us for help. You might not have time, Tom. I'm just saying.
Well, look, we talked about this in our last episode. It's the overwhelming factor of where do you even start? Right?
Yeah,
that's the thing.
And I think, this intelligent document processing is probably a good place because there would be, I would think, a number of these use cases within a business, and some poor person who's sitting there having to manually do stuff that you could help or do something else with or redeploy, so to speak. All right. So Power Pages has now got agent-enabled workflows in Power Pages. So Power Pages is Microsoft's low-code web development, and you can have a site copilot now where you can have, structured QA, application lifecycle management, and all that sort of stuff on a website. And now they've enhanced the Power Platform Admin Center with a much broader control plane, which will, includes Copilot Studio, manage your licensing, capacity, security, all through one glass of pane, as they say, Tom. All right. Did you have any other, before we move on to security, did you have any other things around low code or any other of the announcements there that you want to have a chat about?
No, I think the document thing like you said, that's the one I really want to get my hands on. So I think you've nailed that one. So let's talk about security.
Oh, there's so much, Tom. I'm tired just even thinking about it, but we will get into it. It is a huge amount of it is around Copilot purview and Copilot protection. That is, there's like 12 or 15 separate announcements around the same topic.
Yeah, I think the fundamental problem people have is this concept of oversharing, where data is poorly identified, poor security structures, and really only secure because people don't know where to look.
Yeah.
When as soon as you introduce AI, AI actually knows where to look. So now you've got a problem, right, around oversharing.
Yeah, it's going to uncover your crap management, your legacy management. All right, so firstly, we'll start on something a little bit different, but and we did mention this, it was announced earlier in the year, but now it's generally available. It's Microsoft's security exposure management is now GA, so that means it's actually available. So what this is a unified posture management solution. So it's going to consolidate disparate silos, so across your organization, so across on-prem, cloud, identity, apps, data. You're going to get a single view of all your issues and attack paths and recommendations for your security posture across your whole environment. So it'll work together with EDR, with Microsoft Defender XDR, and Security Copilot. So you'll get complete protection for both pre and post breach situations. So they're calling it a unified SecOps platform. So you get sort of up to date. It's monitoring live what's going on across your whole environment. So if there's an attack, it will do attack path analysis. So it'll help your security teams look at what's, if something's happening, it will give you detailed visibility into what's going on, exposure insights, so you can be a lot more proactive. So this is a pretty big piece from Microsoft from a security point of view to give that unified posture management across everything. And there's not many others out there that have such a broad view. All right, so Purview. So for those who don't know what Microsoft Purview is, you've potentially been living under a rock somewhere. So it's Microsoft's data management, data governance, data loss prevention solution. So it allows you to do sort of a few things. Firstly is to discover, so it's to identify where you have data, sort of things like under the Privacy Act, financial data, business sensitive data, things protected by certain compliance frameworks. within your organization. So you can do a scan and it will show you, in this file server, on this particular file, you have passport numbers, or in this email, you've communicated something that you shouldn't. So to give you that visibility as to what's going on in your environment, and that's across on-prem, across cloud, across all your data lakes, and not just in the Microsoft ecosystem. So certainly it's broadened outside of the M365 ecosystem. Then you can apply labels to your documents.
Good.
And then, so you can label, you can say whether a document is, highly sensitive or insensitive. So, and then you can provide data protection policies to those documents to say, to guide what you're allowed to do with those documents. Now, within standard, I mentioned this last time, within your sort of business premium or standard licenses, you do get the ability, you do get manual labeling, but if you want the automated stuff, you need to buy something called the E5 compliance add-on, and you get, once you set up the policy, it becomes automated, which is what you want, and you'll get that Copilot integration. But you do need the uplift. So that's just for context for everyone. Now, there's a part of Purview called Insider Risk Management.
Yes.
So insider risk management is not your friend if you want to leave an organization and take all their customer lists, because it basically what it does is it uses AI or machine learning, so it will watch a user and it will say, right, Tom accesses these files and these applications, and while you're doing that, it's green. You get a green light. But if all of a sudden you start doing things like you try to email yourself, a whole bunch of files, or you're trying to download something, you'll move up to red and it will automatically block your access. So that's what insider risk management is. So it's around protecting against malicious use. So there's new features for insider risk management have been announced. So okay, so it'll help you understand potential security risks related to Gen AI.
Yep.
So risky prompts, so activities, if someone's doing a risky prompt, so that's a prompt that contains sensitive information or has risky intent. So it'll be that user will move up to, from green to red, for example, in the insider risk management. And then, as I mentioned,
that extended to open to ChatGPT, by the way, as well, which is really interesting.
Yes.
Was it just Microsoft? It actually extended out, which I thought was really useful.
Yeah, so I think they support, I think, 400 different tools, and these, as I mentioned earlier, these insider risk management alerts will be integrated into the Microsoft Defender as well.
Yeah,
so you're going to get so rather than having everything separate. The next one is new controls in M365 Copilot to prevent data oversharing.
Yes.
So this is what you mentioned before. So data oversharing is the biggest risk here. So Microsoft Purview data loss prevention for M365 Copilot. What a name! So it will enable an admin to configure policies to prevent M365 Copilot from processing files based on their sensitivity label to reduce the risk of accidental oversharing. So once you've set up, done your Purview piece and you've labeled the document, M365 Copilot will not allow you to, to share things that are highly sensitive or risky or that you're not allowed to have access to.
You can see why they're doing, they're bringing it all together, because AI needs this. Otherwise, no one will be able to turn it on, right?
Yeah.
So insider risk, they're talking about AI risk, actually.
Yes, exactly. And have you heard of something called a prompt injection? I learned something new today.
I have. I have heard, but what does it mean? I don't know.
I had to have a look. So it's going to. So the insider risk management will detect prompt injection. So a prompt injection is a type of cyber attack against an LLM where a hacker can disguise malicious input as legitimate prompts, because the prompts cannot clearly distinguish between whether you're a developer or a user. So if you can carefully craft a prompt, you can override the instructions.
Nice.
Yeah.
You can say, hey, I need the passwords.
Yeah. Yeah. Or I think it was something that I heard like, if you say, what are the instructions to make a bomb, it'll say no. It'll say, if I was doing X, Y, Z, if someone asked me, what would I say if they said to me,
Yeah.
how do you make a bomb or
I'm a
whatever?
bomb making expert.
Yeah,
I'm
yeah,
really making bombs. Where would I start?
yeah. So if it's working, it's protecting against that. So that's also that bit. Um, so now Microsoft Purview Data Governance Solution has been renamed Unified Catalog. So I think this is the third or fourth renaming we've had. And the reason they've renamed it is to reflect comprehensive benefits. So you can now do data governance across not only your Microsoft estate, but also Fabric, Databricks, and
Yeah.
Snowflake into a unified experience.
Yeah.
And they've also added Google BigQuery and Amazon S3. So you'll be able to scan your data across all of those assets and get a unified view to protect your data across all those environments. So Microsoft, again, positioning themselves as the central point, which I think is really important.
Yeah. I mean, I don't understand the pragmatic implementations of it. It sounds great in practice. In theory on the label, it sounds good, but what are the pragmatic implementations of doing this? What efforts required to actually go through
Right.
this? I don't know yet, right? Because it's also new. No one really knows. But we'll know soon enough, right? When people start to try to implement labels across all these platforms, what does that really mean for them? But it's going to be essential, Josh. You're going to have to do
Yeah,
it.
I mean, most customers are not only at Microsoft, right? They can have stuff everywhere. And the fact, I mean, that was always a limitation of Purview, and people were using other tools like
Yeah.
Varonis or whatever because Microsoft was only good for Microsoft, but now they're really broadening it out. So, and if they want to be the UI for AI, they need to be able to do the protection across all of them as well, not just their stuff. So I think it's really important.
Yep.
There's some new features in Purview data loss prevention, which we mentioned is the setting policies to prevent data loss or oversharing of data. So there's expanded support for expanded file types is included. Power Automate integration, so you can set up a Power Automate alert if there's so if something happens, if someone breaches a DLP, you can set up an alert or that a particular action will be taken. You'll have Security Copilot integration. So you'll be able to go in and use Security Copilot and say, in natural language, give me a summary of what these policies are and what's the gap analysis in our organization from a policy point of view. And it will
Yeah,
give
right.
you, which is really good.
That's cool.
Full file evidence. So this is a Microsoft managed service. So you'll be able to store and view full files on Windows as evidence. So if you're doing investigations or court cases, so that's available. And also blanket protections for non-supported file types. So you'll be able to enforce protections for files that Endpoint DLP does not scan and monitor. So even though a file's not supported, you'll still be able to provide policies against it.
Yeah, right. Cool.
You had enough yet? There's still more.
This is the problem, isn't it? It's like, oh, keep going, though. Keep
Yeah,
going.
I'm not even halfway through. Okay, so they've now added Microsoft Purview Data Security Posture Management (DSPM). Who comes up with these names? So this is in preview. So it will look at your information from all your Purview platforms. So it's on the DLP side, on the insider risk management, and your governance side, and it will provide you insights across your whole environment. It'll say where you've got labeling gaps or policy gaps or unusual patterns and activities, and it will help you and give you guidance and advice as to what you should do, which is pretty cool.
What's that called? What's that one called?
Microsoft Purview Data Security Posture Management.
Right, okay. Posture management is what you need to understand, right?
Posture management now coming into your data security and your Purview, given how important this is going to be. And the data security for posture management for Gen AI is now available.
Right.
So this is generally available.
So that could be a good place to start, right?
Yes. Yeah, you want to get your, so you want to, it's basically doing an assessment of your environment. Yeah. Okay, Purview integration with Copilot Studio. So this is important. So if you're building agents that we talked before, or Power Apps and business processes using AI, you want to be able to protect your data that is shared by these agents, these custom agents and custom Copilots that you're building in low code. So now that is now integrated. So it's across not just M365 Copilot, but also your Copilot, your custom Copilots. And now there's expanded compliance support. So, sorry, there's just this list. This page is so big. Okay. All right. So remember I said before that you can do a scan with Purview.
Yep.
Across your environment. And what there's about 300 templates you can use. So a template, for example of a template, is Australian passport numbers.
Right. Yeah. Driver's license.
Correct. Yeah. You can just choose that. So now it supports new compliance frameworks for AI. So there are new ones. So the EU AI Act.
Yeah, right.
The NIS2 AI, ISO 42001, the Digital Operational Resilience Act. So you can now automatically search across your environment for breaches for these new regulations. That's all it's saying. So it's updated the compliance frameworks that it's supporting to incorporate these new AI governance frameworks that are coming out. Make sense?
Makes sense.
All right, and Security Copilot. So we mentioned what Security Copilot is. So that's the Gen AI security bot is now, they've made a lot of enhancements to it. We've already mentioned it'll have visibility into the Purview data security posture management to give you, and also now it'll also be embedded in Entra,
yes,
which is Active Directory. So it will look at sign-in logs, diagnostic logs. So you're getting that deep visibility into what's going on in your identity platform as well.
I'm looking forward to seeing this one specifically because, this is where Gen AI should be able to help you deal with the complexity of all these platforms and bring it up to something meaningful. I'm hoping that's what this thing's going to do for us.
Yes. There's also now they've announced the Security Copilot for Intune as well. So to give you, insights across what you're doing, across your fleet, and give you, this device is looking like it needs an update. All that sort of stuff is also going to be in there. Next one. This is we're moving away from Copilot to something else. So Intune had limited device hardware inventory capability for non-Windows devices.
Yes.
So it has announced it can do core device hardware inventory for iOS, Android, Mac OS, and Linux devices.
Great. So does that include all your IoT equipment as well?
If they have Linux, iOS, and Android, it does now support it. So it was able to manage them, but it didn't have that detailed hardware inventory visibility. So now it's in private preview. Give you things like CPU, TPM, data. So it really improves Microsoft's MDM solution.
Good.
So that's new. The Microsoft Security Service Edge. So that was, if you remember, the Entra Private Access and the Entra Intranet Access solution. So that's been, they've announced some additions to that. So they've got something called App Discovery, so to make it much easier. This is for help customers migrate away from traditional VPNs to a zero trust network access to either cloud infrastructure or on-prem infrastructure. So they've made that ability to do that migration a lot simpler. And then from the Entra Intranet Access, so they've now give you the ability to have universal continuous access evaluation. So this means it can revoke access in real time when conditions change. So wherever you are in the web, it will say, hey, automatically, something's happened that's now not good. It will block your access to something.
Yep.
And a new ability to provide TLS inspection, so it can inspect encrypted traffic, which was a big that was a gap previously. It wasn't able
Yes.
to inspect encrypted traffic. So that's
So how does it
that's
do
now
it then?
there.
So it understands, it's got the keys, has it, to the encryption.
Yeah, yeah.
Bloody hell. Machines are
And
taking over. It's true.
and now integrating with a lot of third-party products, so Aruba, Cisco, Aviatrix, Checkpoint. So there, and also vendors like Netscope.
Yeah.
So so Microsoft are really opening this up. Now for SMB customers, so there's enhancements for SMB for the smaller customers. So they're doing Defender for Business. So for customers who have who are less than 300 seats, and you get Business Premium, where you get Defender for Business included. They've announced integration with Huntress. So Huntress is a 24/7 SOC, a
Good.
global SOC provider, which is
Yep.
reasonably priced, so cheaper than some of the enterprise products. So they now have integration for both Defender for Business and Entra for Huntress. So for smaller customers who couldn't afford,
So,
the big players, so the Arctic Wolves or the other big ones. So you can now integrate your Defender with Huntress, and they're using LLMs for boosted email defense. So if you've got Defender for Office 365, so it can interpret subtle human language nuances to understand the attacker's intent and proactively thwart threats. So they've basically trained the LLMs on a massive data set to improve, the social engineering or, spam attacks.
that is the number one reason people get scammed is through email. So that's really, finally, that's good if it works.
All right, I'm nearly done. Would you believe? Thank God. I'm getting tired. Okay, so this is interesting. So Windows. So we know Windows is coming out. New Windows 11. There was only one of the many. I only chose one. You can do personal data encryption. So it's a second layer of protection to Windows Enterprise. So an individual files a user has on your laptop is encrypted for a second time and can only be read by the user when they sign in using Windows Hello. So you have to do a biometric sign in.
Yeah.
So it can protect the file even while the device is running or on standby.
Right. Okay. So that means you can have your own personal data stored on your company computer. Is that what you're saying? So you're
it's encrypting. Yeah, even if the device is shut down or lost or stolen, the data is encrypted, and the only way an attacker will be able to get in is through. You've got to have the biometric to get in.
Okay.
Yeah.
Radio.
And this is all managed by Intune, and it's called personal data encryption, and is enabled by an IT admin. Whether they don't have a view of the data either, I wouldn't think Microsoft would do that. I'm sure the business would still be able to have access to it.
It's interesting because what's wrong with the hardware encryption at the moment, though? Right? I thought that would solve that problem.
Yeah, it's a good question. Sorry, Tom. I don't know. I'll have to get back to you.
We'll find out. We'll find out. We'll know more.
Yes. Universal print. So instead of having to have print on-prem, you can do universal print. It is already out, but now they've announced a couple of new things, which I thought was interesting. So it's a feature called Pull Print. So it'll enable a printer to print and securely release your job to any printer in an organisation.
Yeah,
so
it's a big deal. That's actually really important because, as I said, it's always been a pain where you have to implement something else to deal with that issue.
Yeah, and if you're sitting in your office and you're drafting your resume and you do a print on it, and you're running out to the printer to get there before anyone else can see that you're printing off your resume, that can be embarrassing. So with this functionality, so you can there's an existing secure release with QR code, so be able to now print from any device or app with web connectivity, and you don't have to choose a printer in advance.
Oh,
So
cool.
you can
Yeah.
do the print. You can walk up to the printer. You can authenticate yourself and securely receive your job. So there you go.
Most people have got that. I mean, most printer providers provide the scan thing where you just scan your ID onto the printer and it'll print out. So it sounds like they've sort of made that a bit easier. It's a good
Yeah.
thing.
So you can now you can do it at any printer at
Yeah.
any point from any device. So making it a lot easier.
Cool.
All right, my last one,
Yeah.
Tom. My last one. I think you mentioned it before. Windows 365 Link
Yes. Got some questions
now in
for you.
preview.
Yes.
Yes. So this is it looks like a Mac Mini. It's like the old school thin client. So you're not running anything on your local device, but it will log you straight into Windows 365. So which is Microsoft's cloud PC offering. It can support, dual 4K monitors. It's got an Ethernet port. You can do Wi-Fi. It's got a very cut down OS, but there will be no data stored locally on these devices, and obviously highly sustainable. $349 US. That's a rec retail price, which is approximately 500 Australian. So I don't think it's that cheap. Thoughts, Tom?
Yeah, I had a look at this. So it looked like they had things like video and voice working really well on it. That's always been a pain on those thin PCs because you had to do extra stuff to get that working. That looked really good. But my question, so it's $500, I'd say, Aussie. Really good deployment, really easy to do. What licensing do you need in the back end to make this thing? Do you need to assign a virtual PC to all your users? Or do you just...
So you'd either have a Windows 365 description,
Yes,
or Azure Virtual Desktop.
yeah, but you don't need a virtual desktop, right?
No, you could be either. It has to be one or the other.
That could be a game changer because the virtual desktops, I think we've just talked about this previously, they're expensive, right? In Microsoft solutions.
So this is Windows 365, which is called like Microsoft Cloud OS.
Yeah.
So you don't have an OS, so you're just signing into signing into a Windows PC in the cloud, and they've actually released things like Windows 365 Frontlight in shared mode, so you can have, if you've got shift workers, they can all log into one Windows Cloud PC. All right, I missed this one. Windows in mixed reality will bring the full capabilities of Windows 11 to the Meta Quest headset. Did you see that? Yes.
Yeah, so this is where you got your goggles and you got 15 screens in front of you and you're working away. And, mate, you are the king, aren't you, in that space?
What is the use case, Tom? It sounds cool, but I'm not sure. What is the business value? Please explain.
I don't know. Well, I don't know. I mean, if you just got the headset on, you don't need a monitor. You don't need monitors anymore. That's I don't know. But is that like a sustainable way of working? I don't know. I'm sure someone will tell us shortly.
I'm sure if you were playing Final Fantasy or whatever on there, or some sort of game, that would be
honestly
cool.
If you're in a knock type environment,
right,
where you're staring at 1,000 screens on the wall, that would make a lot of sense. Like if you're in some sort of real time environment where you're watching a shitload of things, you can see a use case for that actually. Or
so some sort of augmented reality. So if you're those guys are going out and doing maintenance on some sort of platform,
so
and they can't use their fingers.
mining operations or something.
Okay.
A whole bunch of things, cameras and data feeds, and definitely that'd be pretty cool actually. But does it work in reality? I don't know. It'd be interesting though. Just go back to that thin PC thing. So what is the cost of the licensing you need to make that to work? So $50 a month or something, or approximately about that?
Yeah, you've got me there. I'll let you know.
On the spot. I'm just working out if that's the right. Yeah, you have to buy that anyway, right? So you need that license anyway.
No, you don't.
So this is different from, say, the business enterprise, the business professional.
Right.
The premium and all that sort of rubbish.
Okay. All right. So it's not simple. So essentially, as always, so you can determine like what sort of sizing you want. So what sort of CPU? So you can choose 2 CPU, 4 or 8. How much RAM you want and how much storage you want.
Yeah, right.
So for example, entry level 2 vCPU, 4 gig of RAM. Is $52.40 a user a month.
Yeah,
and it
right.
goes up from there. So if you want 4 gig of RAM, 256 gig of storage, that's $75 a user
Yeah,
a month.
you've got to go through the business case. This is not a no-brainer, right? You've actually got to go through and add it up and make sure it's worthwhile.
Well, 75 by 12 is $900 a year. That's not cheap. Over 3
No,
years, that's $3
plus
grand.
the device, right? And then,
Correct.
yeah, that's the problem I've got.
Yeah, so it's actually not good. So
No,
where it could be good is if you needed it for 2 months.
that's a good point. Yeah, like seasonal type stuff, or
Yeah.
you just spin up a
Yeah.
call center because you have 3 months of excessive demand.
Yes.
Stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, that's probably where it would make sense. Otherwise, no. Otherwise, it's going to be cheaper to, you're going to spend $1,000 on your own PC and you can keep it for 5 years. So, yeah, it would make sense, I think, for those sort of seasonal.
Yeah.
We've done it, Tom. We got there. Hey?
Well done. So, I got a lot of. Where do you start? It sounds like the posture thing was the place to start as a good way from a security point of view. If that gave you a baseline, and then I think the other piece is that understanding the document management, document AI piece as well. You mentioned earlier. They're my 2 takeaways, I reckon.
Yeah. So what we do is we start with called a Purview data risk assessment, where we do the scan, provide you the report, and then that leads into you can present that report to CEO or CFO, and then that can lead into a project to implement Purview across your environment, protecting, with all the data protections, etc.
Yeah. There you go. So I think that's something we need to talk about into the new year. It's like, how on earth do people digest all this information, and how do they start to enact the change in their own effort? I think that's going to be a big thing for next year.
Yeah, there's a lot of. You mentioned that in the last. There's just too much coming out too quickly.
Lots of fun.
Yeah. So, well, thank you, Tom, as always. Have a really good weekend, and to everyone out there, have a really good week. Hope you're well. Hope you enjoyed the session. Any questions, or if you need a hand with any of this, you can reach out to me, Josh Rubens, on RUBENS on LinkedIn, or you can email me at jorubens@imperiumit.com.au. Thank you, and thanks for listening, and stay well and safe out there. Thanks, Tom.
Thank you, Josh.